Hey everyone, welcome to Youth Bombs. I'm Craig,
I'm Thomas.
I'm David.
I'm Carson.
and we're the voice of young conservatives in Alachua County. Today, discussing immigration. Thomas, you came from Colombia. What can you tell us about, say, the reasons why people are coming across the border?
Well, unfortunately, in not only South America, where I'm from, but Latin America as a whole, the lack of opportunity and the amount of poverty that people have to go through because of the corruption levels of government is simply insane. So the majority of people down in Latin America are basically poor or live in conditions that are inhumane. And because of that, they put themselves through those harsh conditions and come here illegally. Still, I am all in for legal immigration. If you are willing to come to the United States in a legal way, I would not have a problem. But even though if you come here with the best intentions to make a better life for you, for your family, and to strive better than you can do in Latin America, but you do it illegally, it's wrong. No one is above the law. And even if you come with the best intentions and if you're doing it illegally, there's no spot for you here in America. That's what I believe.
Understandable. Carson, how do you feel about that being on the more free immigration side?
Yeah, so as a free market capitalist, I think that immigration ought to be decided by the market. So as the market demands new people, the country will let new people in. I also do believe in for the most part, obviously, in my opinion, I think that border security is a necessary part of national security. However, I don't think there should be any restriction or at least a vastly reduced process when it comes to immigration, because currently our process is absolutely horrendous and it takes so many different steps and a lot of unnecessary bits and pieces that we just add on there, as well as a lot of money. So I think the price and process should be vastly reduced.
I gotcha. My position is the current levels of legal immigration are too high, and illegal immigration is deeply harming our country. We have a net expenditure of $150 billion on illegal immigration per year, and due to lax laws, 59% of illegal immigrants are on some form of welfare. David, what's your take on this?
I view the overcompetition in low-skilled jobs as a problem. I think that the government has a responsibility to help its citizens, particularly its low-skilled workers, have job opportunity. And when you have illegal immigrants come here, you see a lot of those low-skilled workers not being able to find jobs.
Okay, interesting. Now, Carson, you would say that that's more beneficial towards the economy?
Yeah, so for starters, illegal immigrants on their own add $321 billion to GDP each year. Also, I would say that the government doesn't have a responsibility to its citizens, but just more importantly, illegal immigrants are a net contributor. We all know this. If you find a source that says they are a drain, it's a very small drain compared to other drains. I mean, the highest I found, this is from the Republican-headed Commission on Immigration, found that they are a net deficit of $10 billion each year, which is, I mean, a drop in the bucket when you look at some of the things we spend money on. And even that can be vastly reduced by getting rid of our welfare state, because we do not need the welfare state in its current form is absolutely horrendous. So any real argument that can be made against illegal immigrants coming here really is more of an argument about the welfare state, I find, than an argument about them actually coming here for any national security reason.
Thomas, how do you feel about that?
Well, I do believe that the illegal immigrants that come to the country are taking a lot of American jobs. I've felt it in the recent time that I've been here. Some jobs that have applied for as an American have been taken by illegal immigrants, which I know of, and that just simply has no place for me, in my beliefs and in this country. Legal immigration and illegal immigration must be handled in a much better way. The way this current administration has handled it, it's just the open border. Every single person can come through that border. It's just completely open. There has to be more border security for our country. And as I said, any person that is willing to come here legally to work and take their part in the American economy, from my part, you are welcome. You will be welcome as a new American. But if you come here illegally, I know that there are some people that come here from the border, southern border, and they will take drugs like the fentanyl crisis has been affected because of the border crossings of the drug cartels. But even if you're coming here legally with the best intentions of making a better life for you, there's no place for you in America, and you will be sent back.
Okay. Now, it seems like we've been talking about streamlining immigration for years. Why do you think it's not getting fixed?
I believe, honestly, if I can say this, the Democratic Party finds a lot of voters in these immigrants because they tend to show themselves as the pro-immigration party. So, and I've heard about a lot of Latinos that, just like me, that come here to the States to study, to look for a better life. And what they say is that when they become Americans, they will vote Democrat because they will give them more like benefits and bonuses than the Republican Party. And I believe that that's why this current administration has opened the borders, because they know that this large base of legal and illegal immigrants will be voting in the future for them and will secure them in the government spots that are up for this election.
And even if they don't vote, illegal immigrants are counted in the census. And so the places like California, New York, and a lot of places with more legal immigrants will get more electoral votes, which will ultimately give the Democratic Party more power.
Yes, I've heard of various situations in which the Democratic Party and the Republican Party do the phone census to see which party they support. And I've heard about a lot of people that are non-American saying that either they are from the Democratic Party or that they support the Democratic Party or that they will be voting for Kamala Harris on November 5th. They can't vote because they're non-American. And I've heard about situations like that.
Right. And additionally, we saw Virginia, they're being sued by the Department of Justice in order to keep non-citizens on the voter rolls. So we know this is happening, but do you think that this is a long-term goal of the Democrat Party to continue to add foreigners to the voter rolls to support their party?
Well, yes, we've seen it from Kamala Harris has said it herself. If I'm wrong, you may correct me, but she basically said that a non-documented citizen is not a criminal. And that's what they want to do. That's their goal. They want to make non-documented citizens or illegals be in the voter registration. They want to register them as voters. We've seen it in California. I've read about situations in which people go to vote in California and they'll show their ID and it'll basically be like you're doing something illegal to show your ID to vote. This is happening in California right now. So basically anyone can go vote in California. You don't have to show your ID, because if you show your ID, you'll be treated as if you've done something illegally, and that's just gotta stop.
Right. And in Massachusetts, for instance, you, as an illegal immigrant, can get a driver's license. So we also have illegals voting in Massachusetts as well. David, you're from California. What do you see in the Californian electoral process that's concerning?
Yeah, I've definitely also heard from other people in California that if you show voter ID, the poll watchers, they look at you weird because they're not mandating voter ID. And also, there are a lot of illegal immigrants in California, and what they do is they make like their own restaurants in houses, and they charge less, but only in cash, and they take a lot of jobs from the restaurant business.
Okay. And Carson, you might disagree with that. What do you have to say?
Well, just to start, I think that illegal aliens, at least from what I've seen, are not voting in this country. If they are voting, so I have seen a few instances of them voting, but it's at a local level. DC actually passed a referendum at the local level that said that illegal immigrants are allowed to vote, but only in local elections. So that's not a national thing, and it's localism. That's what local, municipalities and cities are allowed to do. The other part, I know you mentioned something about the southern border. I would just say 80 to 90% of drugs, anything trafficked over the southern border that's illegal is trafficked by U.S. citizens. So it's not as much an immigration problem as it is a border problem, which I did say we definitely need border security. And I think one thing that I think the Democrats have failed to do in their messaging is separate border security from immigration. We can have immigration reform and a stronger border. We need a stronger border. I do not disagree with you guys on that. The difference is we also need immigration reform in this country. It should be easier to get into this country. And I think if you look at the process, it is a 20-page document to figure out if you are able to get into this country. That's absurd. It's $15,000 down the drain. And so in my opinion, I think that's all too much. I don't see any logical reason also, because Craig, you mentioned you would like to lower the number of legal immigrants in this country. I don't see any logical reason to do that, seeing as they are a net contributor to GDP, actually, that $321 billion. I'm not 100% sure what the number is for legal immigrants, but it is far more, obviously, because there are far more of them. But yeah, anything with them voting, I'm not sure. I haven't looked into those examples except for the DC one, but voter ID is a completely separate issue to me, and I think that I'm not experienced enough on that topic to really talk on that, but I haven't seen an argument that convinces me of anything against voter ID. But yeah, you have to be on the voter rolls in this country to vote. If you're not a citizen, you aren't on the voter rolls. You can't vote.
Well, you can't. That's the issue, is that unfortunately people who aren't citizens can get on the voter rolls. In, say, Massachusetts, where I'm from, that's what they've been doing, is they've been able to get a driver's license and then they can get on the voter rolls. There's no check necessarily on citizenship. It's just a box online that says, are you a citizen? So they can just check that off. There's no verification involved. So that's the problem, where they're able to register without the citizenship. To your point on border security, I'd agree on stronger border security, but would disagree on, say, the number of immigrants coming in. I see it as a net harm to the country depending on the group we're talking about. So, for instance, Denmark data shows that immigrants from the Middle East, North Africa, Pakistan, and Turkey are a net drain on fiscal resources, while those from Western countries have a more positive impact. So I think there's room to limit the number of immigrants that legally come in, as well as sharply clamp down on illegal immigration. We also know that 2/3 of federal inmates are non-citizens, so I think it is adding to the crime problem in this country.
So the crime rates for legal immigrants actually are the lowest, and then illegal immigrants are still lower than U.S. citizens, according to almost every available metric. But the one thing I will say there is any statewide or local or even federal policy that relates to the welfare state, and you mentioned the Massachusetts voter registration thing. I think that's a problem with that state's policy. We have to talk, when we're talking about these policies, we have to talk about them as individual policies. If you can get on the voter rolls in Massachusetts without having proof that you're a citizen, I think that's a problem with that individual policy, not a problem with immigrants as a whole. And the same goes for the welfare state. The welfare state should not exist in its current form, no matter who the government is stealing from. It should not exist.
Yeah, and I want to speak more on voter ID. The argument from the Democratic Party for why we should not have voter ID is because they believe that less people are going to go out to vote. So they believe that there's going to be a lower voter turnout. But we see that counties that actually check voter ID do have a higher voter turnout, most likely because voters feel that their vote matters more. And
Okay. Thomas, how do you feel about this?
The voter ID situation, I do stand for voter ID verification in every single voting or polling place in the country. we know about situations in which, for example, Massachusetts, that they don't ask for an ID, or California. I've actually heard about people in Gainesville that are either illegal or are non-American, and they are registered in the voter roll, and they will be voting for the Democratic Party here in Gainesville. I know about that.
Now that's deeply concerning. I think that Florida generally seems to have better verification procedures than states like Massachusetts, but do we know, for instance, like how these people were able to rig the system?
I was just told that about some people that are illegal immigrants that are here in Gainesville, and that they expressed that they are registered to vote through fake identification, and that they will be voting for the Democratic Party in these elections. And that's deeply terrifying, because I already voted, and when I went to vote, I felt safe. I felt that my vote was going to count. But at the same time, I was thinking about that situation, and I said, if this is happening, basically anyone can vote. We don't have safe elections.
I don't think there's any real way for us to know that they will actually vote, because when I went to go get to vote in the Rights, they scan my ID. So if it's a fake ID, when it gets scanned, it's obviously not going to go through. I struggle with this, because obviously there is a point to be made about when illegal immigrants can obtain driver's licenses, then there's no voter ID. Number one, that's already absurd. But then having that driver's license and going to get on the voter roll, okay, I can see maybe where there could be a problem, an ability to rig the system, maybe in Massachusetts. But my top concern, obviously, being in Florida, I don't understand how you would be able to do that when we have voter ID in this state, and you have to get your ID scanned. I don't, they might be saying that, they might be, maybe. But I seriously cannot think of any way where they'd be able to get away with that, especially in a state with voter ID.
Yes, I do agree with you on that, Carson, because, well, as you said, there's no real way to know if they will be voting or if they have voted. But still, I do believe that the act of saying that I'm going to vote, it doesn't matter for who. The act that you're saying I'm going to vote as an illegal immigrant sounds alarms for me personally.
I think it also, I would agree, it's kind of disrespectful to our country. You should respect the process to become a citizen in this country. No matter, I believe it is broken, but I still think that if you're going to be in this country, you should respect it. But I think overall, a lot of what this conversation is, I think, is edge cases. And overall, if we're going to have a better immigration system, I think step one is to secure the border, but step two is to make the process easier, just from an economic perspective, because we can talk all day about the voting and whatever, but all of that can be stamped out with simple policy changes in these states. When we talk about the economic consequences of bringing more legal immigrants into this country, I think there are plenty of good reasons to bring immigrants into this country as the free market demands it. And I know you guys mentioned illegal immigrants taking American jobs in this country, and by every single metric I've seen, well, number one, actually, there should be competition, even with immigrants, in my opinion, because that's how a free market works. But even if we're going to say that there shouldn't, almost all of the time that immigrants are brought here, they have to already show that they are not going to be taking jobs from Americans. So there was this one story I heard of a South Carolina peach farmer. I know this is going to go quick. And this person had 800 job openings. Only 3 Americans applied. So this idea that, it's already so hard for us to find more workers. Can you imagine if, just all across the country, these farmers were able to find people to fill jobs, the price of these foods would go down. So anyway.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that, Carson. I also stand for legal immigration. If you are willing to come to this country, no matter where you're from, if you're coming to this country legally to work, to be a part of the economy, to grow the U.S. economy, you will be welcome. But as I stated before, even if you're coming in illegally, and even if you're going to contribute to the economy, you're breaking the law. And I believe everyone in this room is a man of the law. And if you are breaking the law, you will be sent back.
I agree. I just think that it should be easier. And overall, my general statement is just that it should be easier to come into this country legally. And I hope we can all agree on that, because I think undoubtedly immigrants do help this country. Immigration helped build this country. And I think that as Americans, we should want not only our economy to be stronger, but we should also, provide opportunity for the world. I think, I love the Ronald Reagan quote that America is the shining city on a hill. And I think we should be that for people who want to come in here legally. And I think that it should be easier for people to come here legally.
I see what you mean. I think based on the fact that it can depress wages and the fact that we have the problem of the welfare state just makes it such a big problem that it needs to be curtailed. But David, I want to get you with the closing thought.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to job opportunity, America should definitely favor American citizens over citizens of another country, which is what illegal immigrants are. Illegal immigrants are citizens of another country, but not citizens of the United States of America. And about voter ID and illegal immigrants, when you have 18 million illegal immigrants at least who have come to this country in the past 4 years, there might be a significant portion of those who voted.
Understandable. Well, thanks everyone so much for watching. We really appreciate it. We upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to reach out to us, feel free at youthbombs@alatrorepublicans.com. Thanks so much, everyone.